So guys, good morning. Today we're going to talk about impromptu number 3, seeing the good in others is a fantasy that hurts more than it helps. Now the concept of being willing to see the good in others is a valuable principle. Okay, I want to put that up front. It's called positive warm regard. It's another term for it, or generosity if we're looking at the trust model from Brene Brown. So yes, seeing the good in others has a utility and a usefulness from it, or to it rather. But the problem with codependence is we turn it into a fantasy that hurts us and helps enable their behavior. And the way this shows up is, well, they're really trying hard. They've had a traumatic past. They've got abuse in their past. I see that they could be better if they'll just work this out. That kind of dismissiveness about their behavior and its impact on you is causing you enormous hurt and harm. Because what's going on is you're displacing your valid, legitimate experience with that point of view. And then you're focusing on what they feel. That is why seeing the good in others is a trap for codependence. Because you're going to be hooked on their potential rather than who they choose to show up as. Guys, these people are not children. They are not like 3-year-olds or 5-year-olds trying to discover the world and need your guidance and shelter and help. These are grown-ass adults that are choosing to behave this way. And we know they choose to behave this way because, frankly, they behave better and they know how to behave better. You've seen it. You've experienced it. It's the love bomb, well, partly the love bombing phase, but you also see how they treat other people differently, especially in public. They know how to behave better. They choose not to. It's really an important thing to grasp, because when you're talking about seeing the good in others, you're talking about seeing potential. You're not talking about what's actually happening with that person. You're not talking about how you feel about what they're doing. Okay? It honestly doesn't matter that they've had trauma in their past. It does not matter that they're in pain. Okay? Because you have trauma in your past. You are in pain and you don't behave the way they do. Okay? So they don't deserve a free pass because of that. They deserve accountability for their behavior. They deserve confrontation for bad behavior. The way this looks like is, hey, I know you're in pain. I know this hurts, but this is not appropriate behavior, regardless of how you feel. And this stops now. That approach respects your feelings, it respects their feelings, and it creates accountability for toxic behavior. That's how we structure that. And the only way we can approach that and see that in our lives is if we're willing to acknowledge what people are actually doing rather than bypassing it with this concept of seeing the good in others. When we believe that everybody has good potential and we focus on that, we get stuck in a fantasy. When we're willing to acknowledge that, hey, your behavior hurts me, I don't like it, please stop doing it, I understand that you're in pain, but you need to find a healthier way to deal with this, then we succeed. Then we win. Then you can have honest conversation. Then you're advocating for yourself. That's what matters here. That's how we're healthy in this experience. So, guys, be careful about this fantasy. Be careful of this concept of, hey, I see the good in him. I see who he could just be if he would just love himself. Or if he would let me in. That kind of thing. That's not going to work well for you. It's going to get you hooked on them. Okay? I see it frequently, especially with individuals who are just coming to light about their own codependency. They come into this experience and go, wow, they have a traumatic past. That's why they hit me. They have a traumatic past. That's why they drink. They have a traumatic past. That's why they scream at me. No, it isn't. It isn't. They do those behaviors because people haven't put a check on them in the past. Those behaviors are enabled by this kind of permissiveness. So you got to check it. You got to put a wall on it and say, nope, that is not how we behave. I understand you're in pain, but you're going to have to express that differently because your behavior hurts me. Further, when you start validating and legitimizing the pain you're experiencing because of their bad behavior, the stronger you become, the more individuated and self-aligned and loyal you become, the healthier you become, the less codependent you are in that experience. So, what I recommend with this is leaving the fantasy of seeing the good in others and embracing the reality of observing how people choose to be. It doesn't matter if it's conscious or unconscious. It doesn't matter what the motivation or the history is. It matters that it's happening and it deserves to be addressed up front with clarity, with honesty, with kindness, and with directness. That's the key to putting in proper boundaries and teaching people how you expect to be treated, and then they'll reveal themselves with that. They'll be like, well, they'll just keep doing it. If they're truly a person with toxic thinking and behaviors, they're going to push past that boundary. They're going to attack that boundary. They're going to shame it. And that's your big red flag. That's your big, that's the sign, time to leave. Because you're never going to get any traction. You're just going to be hurt and harmed in that relationship. A person that's truly working on improving and becoming a healthier version of themselves is going to receive that feedback and constructively use it to improve their behavior. Because one of the most essential components of a healthy shift in a person is that they separate their sense of identity from their behavior. They realize, I'm a better person than this behavior. My behavior can demonstrate who I see myself really as a better person. My behavior can be an extension of how I communicate how I see myself. And fundamentally, that's what behavior does. It tends to communicate how we see ourselves, how we regard ourselves, and how we personify and understand others. So I encourage you to take this kind of, strong take on seeing the good in others and step back and see what people's patterns of behavior are. Confront those behaviors that hurt or harm you. Get a dialogue going on with them so they can understand how you're feeling, and give them some accountability so that they can say, hey, yeah, I need to work this behavior out so I can better communicate how I'm feeling too, right? Because if we got pain and we're lashing out or we're being toxic with that pain, well, there's better ways to express it. There's healthier ways to put it out there. Because this isn't about the denial of feelings. It's not about the denial of need or want or our experience. It's about how we're impacting the other person, right? Or how they're impacting us. And we need to be really attuned to that. And the most effective way to do that is stop seeing the good in others and start seeing what they're doing and confronting that directly, rather than bypassing it with this fantasy that they're good people, they just need more love or they just need more understanding. Generally what they need is accountability, confrontation, boundaries, along with understanding and love. But that understanding and love cannot be permissive. It has to be confrontational. It has to create boundary and accountability. So that's my little promptu thing today, guys. I appreciate you. I will see you next week for next week's dive into more about codependency, thriving beyond it, understanding your own personal experience, all that good stuff. If there's a topic you want me to do a video on, post that below. Be glad to do that. You guys have a great day, and I will see you on Tuesday. Bye-bye, guys.